the First Amendment is widely mistaken in America today as just being about speech. And it's not. It's about association. It's about worship. It's about media. It's about journalism. It's about our ability as Americans to stay in the driver's seat over our government. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And I think if we don't revive that, whether it comes from the left or the right, I don't really care. If we don't revive that being equal to all, in other words, the left can't just rise up and defend free speech when their side is being squashed. And the right can't just rise up and defend speech when our side is being. It has to be all or nothing. It has to be, I disagree with you. I hate your politics. We cannot have a beer together. But by God, I will fight for your right to say what you're saying right now. It's important. Hey guys, it's the Twisted View. It's like The View, but with dudes. All right. Benjamin Allbright's here from KOA. We got Christian Toto from HollywoodandToto.com, our very own conservative movie critic. So I want to dive into a couple different things today, guys. I want to start with freedom of speech. It's been in the news lately. A couple weeks ago, Jimmy Kimmel suspended for 3 days. Right, yeah. Look, there's a whole lot to this to be disturbed. The state of California just passed a law that would fine big tech companies between $5,000 and $1 million for allowing someone to say something about a marginalized group that they consider to be hateful. Right? Well, who defines that, right? There's also a national bill that's being considered. Obviously, President Trump wasn't fantastic on free speech, saying things to the media like, maybe we should go after you and maybe we should go after your license. It was kind of embarrassing because we as conservatives or libertarians or those on the right have been complaining for the last number of years under the Obama administration and under the Biden administration about how much censorship was going on. They were caught red-handed doing it. And suddenly the ground on freedom of speech has shifted to the left for some reason. Not that they mean it, but it's kind of concerning that I guess if you're in the position that we're in, it doesn't seem like anybody cares about free speech but us. It's wild. Yeah,
it's tough. I mean, I think a lot of the stuff that President Trump says is just bloviating. It's bladder.
Sure. Yeah.
But he also is the president. And when he says things, it matters.
Right.
So he needs to calm that down. He just can't. I mean, if he's not doing it by now, he's never going to do it. He's 79 years old. But to me, it's the teeth that what matters is the actual things going on. And what we saw during the Biden administration were bad things were happening.
Right.
People were being censored. They were reaching out to social media platforms and shutting folks down.
They were putting employees in those social media companies who were from the government.
As bad as you think it was worse. And the lack of coverage and the lack of outrage is really amazing. Yeah. So all these free speech warriors, we got to save Jimmy Kimmel. We got to save democracy. They're full of you know what. They're just full of it. It's nothing. It's as clear as day. Yeah. Full of it.
I took the other side of this in that I was hoping that they suddenly saw the light. And that maybe that's the optimist
Welcome
in me.
To our club, my friend.
Instead of the cynic, maybe it's, but we lost the high ground on this. Like people and I know all three of us are on the same page on this one with free speech. This goes back a long ways. Goes back to not just the Biden administration, go back to the Obama administration where that really picked up. But we lost the high ground on this. And now all of a sudden it's the Democrats who have the narrative and the left that has the narrative on free speech, whether they care or not. They have the narrative and the political. All you had to do, Donald Trump, just don't talk. Just don't talk.
Shut up.
And fire Brendan Carr right away. This is the worst FCC guy we've had in a while since the last one, but whatever. It's, but I mean, you can't have people in a government capacity doing that. If you don't like Jimmy Kimmel, and I don't think Jimmy Kimmel's been that funny since like the Man Show. Like I thought him and Carolla were funny together. I don't think either of them are funny apart, but I thought they were funny together, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that much of Jimmy Kimmel. I don't care if he's on the air, off the air. It does not matter to me.
Right.
You could have let the free market take care of itself.
It was already doing it.
It was already doing it. Right. These shows are not profitable. Nobody watches anymore because everybody's got their phones at night and they're doing this kind of stuff. You could have let the market take care of itself on that one. Instead, you injected yourself. Now you've ceded the high ground on
1,000%.
And those of us who are like, like me, I would defend to the death my right for you to say something that I would spend the rest of my life opposing in practice.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
You have, so it's just frustrating to me to sit there and have been this free speech warrior, I guess. I mean, that's putting a little hyperbole on it. But been this free speech guy for so long. And now I'm like, all of a sudden, how am I on the other side of an argument that I've been making the entire time?
Yeah, I think what bothers me about this, first of all, with any discussion, you have to go back to context, right? And what we've lost in America today, I think, is context. So let's go back to the Obama administration. When did all this start? It started in the IRS under Lois Lerner. And the IRS at that time, the Tea Party, if you guys remember, was really cranking. And I was part of the original timeline. One of the first Tea Parties we held in Lexington, Kentucky. We had 1,200 people show up. And I remember stepping out on stage expecting 50. And in the front row were people from literally all walks of life, all different colors, all different genders. There were bikers. There were people with purple hair and nose rings. Then there were tie and suit conservative guys that looked like Charlie Kirk, right? They were all represented in that movement. That scared the crap out of the Obama administration because it was effective in the midterms. And so to worry about the next section, what they did is they went after any organization that was raising funds that had association with the Tea Party. I have several friends that were audited as a result of this. They politicized it and they shut that movement down almost overnight by intimidating them. They got their idea from that. And then it rolled into Facebook, and then it rolled into Twitter in the Biden administration, all under the guise of the COVID situation and making sure we didn't have quote unquote misinformation in this. That's the context that leads us to this place. And all along, those of us on the right have been the ones complaining about it until we get an FCC commissioner that says, I think we could probably take their license away for that,
I want to go back a little further on that because it actually, there are things in the Bush administration that were like that too, with the FCC broadcast standards.
Well, the Patriot Act, the NSA.
Right, exactly. And so,
right.
But the Tea Party got born out of the populist resentment from the government crackdown during a Republican administration.
Right.
And it followed into, and that populist wave almost swept Mike Huckabee, a campaign I worked on in data and analytics, almost swept Mike Huckabee past John McCain, the standard bearer, that it wasn't quite at the level that it got when over this past election or in the past 8 years. But that populism, that sentiment has Americans, we reject that kind of stuff. We reject that kind of stuff. That's what the Tea Party, the original Tea Party, was all. We reject
1.0, right?
The Boston Tea Party. We reject that. Americans have that sort of rebellion. We have that rebellious streak in us. We're like, we'll tolerate you for a minute.
At least we did.
We did.
Well, we'll tolerate it.
Some of us still do.
We'll tolerate it for a minute, and then we get to the point where we rise up. And in this particular case, that's part of the reason Donald Trump is president again.
Yeah.
Is because they got sick of Trump. They were like, we need an adult in the room was the slogan when Biden. So we put Biden back in. And then Biden,
we got an adult with diapers.
It depends, right? Joke works two ways. But at the end of the day, that the problem there is you saw the backlash from what happened. And then when the Democrats tried to cover up his obvious inability to govern at that point and just lied about it, we hate that. We don't like that. And so in the end, this is what happens is we had the ground, we had the movement, we had everybody from Musk, the whole right has come around on this free speech thing.
Right.
And we had the wave. We were riding the wave on that. And somehow we're on the other side of it now because it blows my mind. It irritates. It's a grind my gears moment.
Do you think, so going back to this thing that bothers, because I'm with you. I'm a free speech absolutist. What I like about the First Amendment is it tells us who the idiots are as much as it tells us who the smart people are, right? I would prefer to know that somebody's a racist because I don't want to be friends with them.
It's the same thing I said with the bake the cake stuff, all that kind of stuff. I want to know who those businesses are so I don't give them my money.
Right.
So I don't need the government to tell you can't do this. I'm going to tell you I can't do it with my own dollars.
Exactly. So that's what I like about free speech is that we know who the radicals are, but also in some cases we need radicals in some cases when the government gets too overbearing. And I think we could argue that we were kind of getting to that point in the Biden administration. I mean, think about it. If Elon Musk hadn't bought Twitter, where we would be at, right? This is how we even discovered. I want to go back to something Christian said earlier. You mentioned that people are not pissed off about this, right? And to Ben's point, Trump managed to wrestle the attention away from something that was a really serious issue and bring it onto him and take away the pegs out from underneath our argument. Because the scary thing in all of this is that we're dealing with a situation where people literally said, you don't want to get a vaccine, we're going to destroy your career, and the government is going to help do it. I mean, I got banned from Facebook for 24 hours for saying you should get sunlight, take vitamin D, and exercise and eat a good diet. Yeah. They banned me from that for misinformation, right? Mm-hmm. All stuff I got from my doctor directly. It's almost as if we don't remember what was happening. And I think the responsibility for that lies partly at the media, because the media is not telling the whole story. The media jumped all over the free speech thing when Trump said it, but they have not covered at all the Twitter files. That should have been the biggest story. Let's go all the way back to NSA. Let's go all the way back to the Patriot Act. When Snowden came forward, that should have been the biggest freaking story in the media of our lifetime. It got The Guardian, and then it went away.
Yeah. Well, the media.
What's going on with that?
The media is
You're the media critic. Come on.
The media is the villain, but the bigger picture is power.
Yeah.
Look what's happening overseas in Europe. If you're in England, you don't like illegal immigration, unfettered immigration, you're worried about the consequences.
You go to jail.
They're going to shut you down.
Yeah.
Because they can't argue that that is a good policy, because we're all saying it's a bad policy.
Right.
It's all about power. The media, when they see a power move in play, which is let's get at Trump, let's get at him and his party, they jump in.
Yeah.
But for years and years, and I cover this, when there were free speech issues all over, the media just stood down or they supported the suppression.
Right.
I mean, there have been so
Why
many
is that?
receipts because they understand that they want to use free speech to protect themselves, to empower them. But if there's free speech under fire and it's the bad guys, so to speak, they don't care. They don't care. They want to see them beaten down. That's what we've seen across the board. It's just, I mean, listen, media corruption is so
It's
overwhelming.
insane, yeah.
Almost every day I'm taken aback and I read it and I follow it and I study it and I'm aghast by it.
Yeah.
But it's just incredible. This whole Jimmy Kimmel whole story has been framed inaccurately in a way that's on purpose. And they didn't care when it was Gina Carano, and they didn't care when it was Roseanne Barr, and they didn't care when it was Tucker Carlson. Gina Carano, I met her on the set of a movie. She was the nicest celebrity I've ever met in my life. She was sweet and she was dear. She put out a couple of messages that talked about COVID, that talked about election integrity, and then put out the most innocuous. It was a Nazi analogy, but it was a cry for empathy and peace. And Disney fired her.
Yep. Yeah. And she's still.
And no media outlet was outraged. None.
Not one.
I think the media, and this is dear to me because we're in
the media.
Yeah.
You know, I think
are.
the problem for me is twofold. I think that number one, there is access journalism has destroyed media.
Yes.
I mean, because you're complicit in it now. There's a great
Boom,
there's a great
right
quote.
there.
There's a great
I
quote.
need that interview. I need that sound clip. So I'll say what I need to say.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a great quote back there, and I'm trying to remember who it was, if it was Wild or whomever, but it was like, journalism is printing that which someone else does not want to be published. All else is public relations. And that's what they become. That's what media has become.
Yeah.
It's become public relations. And so, and you lose your access. I mean, to wit, it works both ways, though. Now I've got Hegseth sitting there saying you can't, you know, if you publish something, and I'm like, that's not journalism either, though. You're trying to get them to be PR. And so there's got to be, we need to stop with the picking sides, left, right, whatever it is on this, and just do the right thing.
Yeah.
If you just do the right thing, the rest of it will sort itself out. And that's the problem is when whoever gets into power defaults back to the wrong thing. And I'm sitting here exasperated, like we just got you guys in here to clean this mess up, not to add to the dirty water on the floor.
You know, I'm going to, okay, all great points. Let me play this from the other side for just a minute at the risk of setting my friend Ben off. I'm going to defend Trump for a second. Okay. Now, I agree with you guys. I think it was stupid that he said what he said, and I'm very concerned about what the FCC commissioner said, because this same FCC commissioner wasn't a commissioner. He was on the board. But just months ago, when Biden was in power, he was decrying the censorship of the Biden administration, and he flips and does the exact same thing. So that's fair. If we understand that a lot of what Trump does is bloviate, and we know he like says things that you kind of got to dig into the context of what he's saying. The reality is the man just won 2 lawsuits against CBS and ABC, major monetary damages, because they were selectively editing interviews to make him look bad and his opponent look good. Now, that is a serious, egregious violation of the journalistic code of ethics,
Very
right?
specific.
In the context of that, saying maybe your license should be in question might actually be fair under the current system. Because if you have major media outlets who are purporting to be both sides of the story, selectively editing an interview to make one side of the political aisle look bad and the other side look good, that's fraud.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'm just going to, I'm kind of leaving that hanging right there. But my concern in all of this is that the media pays the settlement and then goes right back to doing what they were doing before. So people have no guarantee. By the way, I think we should abolish the FCC.
I do.
I'm to the right of you on this because we should get rid of the FCC.
At the end of the day, if we abolish the FCC, because why should we be able to sit here and say what we're saying right now? Because we're on the internet.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
But we couldn't go on a broadcast television station and say this because they would say that that's not in the public interest. Right. That makes zero sense to me.
Who is it to determine what is in the public interest to beginning? The public should be doing that.
Yes.
It's an antiquated system for sure. And I have a tiny bit of sympathy for that argument that Brendan Carr, about these are the public airwaves and they're maliciously lying and they're incredibly one-sided. I can see that to a degree, but I can see the exploitation of hammering CBS for that situation to be far more egregious than anything else.
Right.
Again, at the end of the day, people are tuning out of Jimmy Kimmel. It'll continue to happen. And then when his contract is up, they're going to say, we can't give you $15, $18 million. Right. We're going to give you much less. And he's going to go bye-bye.
I have a theory on Jimmy Kimmel. Not that that's kind of an old story now, but I do have a theory if you want to hear it.
Sure.
Because was it you that said he's not been funny since The Man Show?
Yes.
Okay, I think he was very funny in that setting. And when he first started the late night, he was actually pretty funny too.
I don't know if I can use the word, but the Ben Affleck bit, the Matt Damon Affleck bit, that's funny. That's the only funny bit he's done in 20 years.
So, yes. So I have a theory that he knows that if he steps aside of saying certain things, they will cancel him in a heartbeat. They're holding the cancel card on him. I mean, he did blackface. He was looking up women's dresses. Yeah. Yep. He was doing all these things on The Man Show that right now, if you or I were engaged in a skit about that, we would be canceled immediately. Mm-hmm. I think they own him. I think that's part of why I don't think anybody really watches him for entertainment. I think the reason there was this huge uprise support, it was really just the far, far left that own him going, hey, this is our guy. We put him in there and we're keeping him in there. And how dare you take him out? Well, I think that's what was going on. Because I don't think he's funny anymore. I think he's naturally funny, but he's not himself. He's held captive to this.
When you become a pure partisan, that comes first, comedy comes second or third. That's why he's not funny. But to prove your point, which is at least partially true. Listen, he lives in Hollywood. He's probably trying to kiss up to the power, the man, the structure. Sure. But Jimmy Fallon did blackface once, 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. He did, I believe it was a Chris Rock impression.
Yeah, I think so.
And no one was upset 20 years ago. And then during the George Floyd melee, Jimmy Fallon went on the air and gave a public apology on The Tonight Show for one appearance. He had to do the hostage apology tour for that. Jimmy Kimmel did far worse, far more often. He has never publicly had an apology like that. Right. He wasn't forced to have a public apology like that. I think he addressed it at one point, maybe in a text or a tweet or something.
Did he not do blackface?
No, he didn't.
Kimmel did too, so both of them did.
It was Carl Malone.
That's right.
Not blackface, black body.
Yeah, that's right.
And Oprah Winfrey. And he did a lot of the sexual stuff on The Man Show.
Right.
The women on trampolines.
None of it offends me.
Yeah.
It's in the past. It was acceptable then. In ways, part of it should be acceptable now. I mean, doing goofy stuff. I mean,
comedy should just be acceptable, period.
If there are women on the set who are outraged, then don't take the gig. And if you don't mind it, it's okay. Yeah. And if women want to exploit men and be silly and ogle men and the men are okay with it and it's funny, then go do that too.
Right.
But that's why he didn't apologize.
At the end of the day, comedy should speak truth to power in a biting and funny way, right? Yes. And there are guys that do that. Jon Stewart is a partisan, but he'll take shots at the left. Yeah. Dave Chappelle will take shots at anybody. Yeah. Andrew Schultz will take shots at any. There's a great. I think the great comedians don't spin it down to one side and do the stuff like that. That's a
good point. Dave Chappelle. When I go see a Dave Chappelle show, I know that I'm going to disagree with him on politics, and I also know I'm going to laugh my ass off the entire time. Yeah.
You also know
that's how comedy should be.
Also, it's going to be an element of surprise when you watch Kimmel and Colbert. You know exactly what they're doing.
No surprises.
You know the
advertised for FCC
standards. You know the targets. You know the angles. You know the topics. You know everything. You walk into a Tim Dillon show or Ryan Long,
no idea what's going to happen.
Schultz or Tyler Fisher. You have no clue.
Well, let's just put it straight. The best comedians are libertarians because they're the only ones that aren't afraid to take shots at both sides.
But I think comedy naturally gravitates to libertarianism because there's sort of individual component of this, and then making fun of people who take themselves too seriously.
That's a great point. I love it. Yeah, fantastic. Man, we went long on this one. I love it. Fantastic. Look, the bottom line is I think the three of us are probably aligned on being First Amendment absolutists. And the other side of this, too, is that the First Amendment is widely mistaken, just as we wrap it up, it's widely mistaken in America today as just being about speech. And it's not. It's about association. It's about worship. It's about media. It's about journalism. It's about our ability as Americans to stay in the driver's seat over our government. That's what it's all about. Yeah. And I think if we don't revive that, whether it comes from the left or the right, I don't really care. If we don't revive that being equal to all, in other words, the left can't just rise up and defend free speech when their side is being squashed. And the right can't just rise up and defend speech when our side is being. It has to be all or nothing. It has to be, I disagree with you. I hate your politics. We cannot have a beer together. But by God, I will fight for your right to say what you're saying right now. It's important.
Yeah, and I think if you guys want to meet me over here at camera, whatever, listen to your Uncle Ben here, not the rice guy. Uncle Ben. Not the rice guy. This is the easiest way that I can say this. In the future, when you're on the right side of an issue and you've got the high ground, don't cede it by doing that. Sit there and say, so you guys understand what we were talking about the whole time.
Right.
Be welcome. You catch more flies with honey, right?
Yeah.
Be welcoming to the issue instead of trying to come back at it. And when we lose the high ground and now we're at odds and we're actually all want the same thing. The left and the right want free speech now all of a sudden, right? That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
Today they do.
Let's hold them to it, though. Yeah. All right. I'll tell you what, do not forget to subscribe and like our channel. Just click that little bell icon and you're good to go. You can find Twisted View wherever your favorite podcasts are found. And hey, if you have a suggestion or a complaint, we really don't care. So just send it over to IHateLeland@twistedview.com.